Good morning. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners meeting on February 2nd, 2022. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And with that, we will, I'll defer to Commissioner White to offer the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll ask that everyone please stand at this time, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, I pray that you will guide this board as we conduct important work on behalf of the public here in Hillsborough County today. Pray that we will be cohesive and move forward in such a way that we end up with policy that's in the best interest of everyone here in Hillsborough County. As always, I pray for our first responders and members of our armed forces, that you will guide them and keep them safe each and every day. And I ask for these blessings in your heavenly name. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner White. I appreciate that. And with that, I'd like to ask the clerk to do a roll call, and recognizing that Commissioner Myers is in the room for the accommodations that follow.
Good morning. Overman?
Here.
Cohen?
Here.
Hagan?
Here.
Kemp?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
White?
Here.
Commissioner Myers is present. Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The first item on our agenda today is accommodation presented by Commissioner Gwen Myers on behalf of the Board of County Commission, recognizing the Hillsborough County Urban League and the Hillsborough County chapter of the NAACP. Commissioner Myers, are you available?
Yes. Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chair. This is a time where we celebrate the contributions Black Americans have made to our country throughout its history, but also a reminder of the work that still needs to be done for a truly just society. Joining me today are Stanley Gray, CEO and President of the Urban League of Hillsborough County, and Yvette Lewis, President of the Hillsborough County chapter of the National Association Advancement of Colored People, known as the NAACP. Welcome and thank you for coming here this morning. Since 1976, February has been nationally recognized as Black History Month, which celebrates the achievements made by African Americans and their central role in our nation's history. Every year we honor the contributions and legacies of African Americans, from civil rights pioneers such as Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King Jr., and Rosa Parks, to leaders in industry, politics, science, culture, and more. I think it's also important to honor our local African American leaders. The Urban League of Hillsborough County and the Hillsborough County chapter of the NAACP are two organizations that are instrumental in protecting the rights of African Americans and strengthening their legacies in Hillsborough County. In honor of Black History Month, it is my pleasure to present this commendation to these two amazing organizations. The commendation reads, the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners is pleased to recognize the Hillsborough County chapter of the NAACP and the Urban League of Hillsborough County for their dedication to community in honor of Black History Month. The NAACP, founded in 1909, has been a landmark national organization for advancement of colored people. The Hillsborough County chapter of the NAACP, founded in 1917 by Charles S. Sturgis, H.E. Lester, and D.W. Perkins, has been stalwart in its mission to achieve racial equality for over a century. The National Urban League, founded in 1910, is an historic civil rights organization dedicated to economic empowerment, equality, and social justice. The Urban League of Hillsborough County, founded in 1922 by Benjamin Mays, has been instrumental in promoting economic equity for African Americans and minority communities through direct collaborative and hands-up programs. As Black History Month is celebrated during February, these organizations further illustrate the courage and perseverance of African Americans and their legacy. The Board of County Commissioners of Hillsborough County, Florida, does hereby commend the Hillsborough County chapter of the NAACP and the Urban League of Hillsborough County for their steadfast commitment to African Americans and wish them many years of continued success and prosperity. Executed this second day of February 2022, signed by all 7 county commissioners. Mr. Gray and Ms. Lewis, please join me at the podium. We'll present the the commendation, and allow you all to say a few words. We'll now have some comments from Ms. Lewis.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Yvette Lewis, and I'm the president of the Hillsborough County branch in NAACP. The largest, the oldest, the baddest, the boldest, the most loved, the most hated, the most feared, the most revered, the most cussed, and the most discussed civil rights organization there is in America. I just want to thank this opportunity for everyone that has recognized all the work and all the continual advocacy that we do on behalf of the African American community. The NAACP is here for you, Hillsborough County, as well as y'all are there for us. And thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
And now we'll hear from Mr. Gray.
Good morning, and a special thanks to Commissioner Myers, as well as all the commissioners, for this recognition. As was shared, the Urban League of Hillsborough County has been here for 100 years, with the exception of 20 years that it went out of business. The focus of the Urban League is to bring about and assist with economic and just equity in general. The truth of the matter is the glass is half full, but the glass that we look at has many cracks in it. I'm asking all of you all to be a part of the solution. For you to sit back on the sidelines will negate further progress for the African American and minority communities within Hillsborough County. Again, I'm asking you to join in and help us shore up our county, our state, and our nation. Thank you very much for your time.
Again, thanks to the both of you. We appreciate all that you all do in representing Hillsborough County. We know it's not an easy task, but you do it with gracious, with a smile, and with a purpose, because you're helping other people who come to your organization for service. Again, thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers, and thank you both, Ms. Lewis. And I want to thank both the Urban League and the NAACP for all the work you do in the community, for being a voice, being an advocate, for taking actions and partnering with Hillsborough County for the work that we need to do to make sure all of our citizens are recognized. Mr. Gray, thank you so very much. With that, Commissioner Myers also has an opportunity to proclaim on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, declaring February 2022 as American Heart Month and February 4th, 2022 as Wear Red Day in Hillsborough County. Commissioner Myers, you're recognized.
Again, thank you, Madam Chair. For this next recognition, I would like to ask if Kiana Cressman, Vice President of Health Strategies for American Heart Association, has joined us on the virtual call today.
Good morning, Commissioner Myers. Yes, I have.
Good morning and welcome. Since 1963, February has been celebrated as American Heart Month to urge Americans to join the battle against heart disease. Since 2004, February has also been the signature month for the American Heart Association to Go Red for Women campaign. Go Red for Women emphasizes that heart disease is not just an issue for men, it is also the leading cause of death among women. The good news is that you can greatly reduce your risk for the cardiovascular disease by making better life choices, monitoring your blood pressure, cholesterol, and glucose, and staying active. The American Heart Association is a national leader on all these fronts, and it is my pleasure to support these efforts by presenting the following proclamation. The proclamation reads, whereas cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in the United States and impacts men, women, and children of all ages and races, and whereas from 2019 to 2020, deaths from heart disease rose 4.8%, the largest increase since 2012, and stroke deaths increased 6% in the same period. And whereas Black and Hispanic women are disproportionately impacted by the heart disease and stroke, and research shows heart attacks are on the rise in younger women. And whereas younger generation of women are less likely to be aware of their greatest health threats, including knowing the warning signs of heart attacks and strokes. And whereas the global COVID-19 pandemic continues to pose significant higher risks to individuals with cardiovascular disease and risk factors. And whereas about 80% of the cardiovascular disease may be prevented through everyday healthy living, including physical activity, good nutrition, eliminating smoking, and maintaining a healthy weight. And whereas it is extensive to recognize the symptoms of cardiovascular disease, such as severe chest discomfort, pain in one or both arms, and shortness of the breast. And whereas the American Heart Association encourages to call 911 if symptoms occur, seeking training in CPR, and promoting comprehensive automated external defibrillator programs in their communities. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Hillsborough County, Florida, does hereby declare February 2022 as American Heart Month and February 4th, 2022 as Well Read Day in Hillsborough County in recognition of these efforts, and urges everyone to support the American Heart Association by increasing their awareness of cardiovascular disease and taking measures that will increase survival rates and save thousands of lives each year. Executed this second day of February 2022, signed by all 7 commissioners. Ms. Kreisman, would you like to share a few words with us?
Yes, and thank you, Commissioner. On behalf of the American Heart Association of Tampa Bay, thank you to Commissioner Myers and the Board of Hillsborough Board of County officials for this commendation and honor. Losing one woman to cardiovascular disease is one too many. And as Commissioner Myers mentioned, women, especially Black and Hispanic, are disproportionately impacted. Black females had a hospitalization rate of 240% more for heart failure, and Hispanic women had a hospitalization rate of 55% more for the same compared to white women. The American Heart Association of Tampa Bay is committed to equitably improving the health and well-being of our communities, including Hillsborough County, So once again, we thank you for your partnership and this commendation and honor.
And we thank the Heart Association and have your proclamation, and we will make sure that you all receive it. But again, thank you for all that you do, helping to inform our community about the safety of cardiovascular and how we can make sure that we stay healthy. And I'm going to encourage again and say again, this coming Friday, February the 4th, for some of us might be a Happy Payday Friday, but I wanted to be a Happy Go Red Friday. So let's put on our red and support the American Heart Association to show in Hillsborough County, we do care about our bodies, and we want to make sure everyone know that we care. Again, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers, and thank you to all those that were able to join us today. The incredible work you do to support our communities, to educate our communities, to advocate on the health and welfare for those that live in Hillsborough County is incredibly important. I see that Commissioner Kemp has some comments. Commissioner Kemp.
Yes, I'd just like to, in drawing attention to the heart commendation, that I was pleased to understand or hear, have it recognized, specifically pointed out the effect, the disproportionate effect on Black and Hispanic women, to have that be highlighted in this month. So I'm appreciative of that, and thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments, and thank you very much for the work that's being done in this community. With that, the next item on the agenda is actually approval of the changes to the agenda and removal of consent items with questions and requested by board members. Ms. Wise, you're recognized.
Thank you. We have one item that has been deferred. This is item F1. This is Commissioner Myers' item, which was to direct the County Attorney's Office to draft a proposed amendment relating to the Tampa Sports Authority. This will be deferred to September 8th. We have one correction to the agenda. We had inadvertently not included a future issue item. This will now become future issue item 20291. This is to direct the board directed staff to schedule 4 informal town hall meetings on the scheduled dates to invite HART, the municipalities, the City of Tampa, Temple Terrace, and Plant City, and the Transportation Planning Organization, beginning with the 5th or next meeting, and to hold additional town hall meetings to cover the entire county, where everyone will have the opportunity to participate and give comments in the format of a town hall meeting. And lastly, have staff report back to the board on comments received from all town hall meetings. That was Commissioner Myers' motion. I will note that the recap memo has also been amended to include that last part relating to staff reporting back to the board on comments received from all town hall meetings. We have several items for time certain. Item D1 at 10 a.m. is to adopt a resolution approving the list of real property inventory appropriate for affordable housing and authorize the acceptance of the properties into the capital asset financial records. Item D2 is to conduct a public hearing to accept comments on the draft HOME-ARP allocation plan, close the public comment period, and review and adopt the HOME-ARP allocation plan. Item D3 is to hold the second public hearing and consider the adoption of an ordinance declaring zoning in progress and extending the current moratorium on the acceptance and processing of applications for rezonings and plan development zoning modifications within a portion of the Residential Plan 2, RP2, future land use designation of the future of Hillsborough. Item D4 is to conduct a second public hearing and adopt a resolution designating approximately 2.843 acres as a brownfield area at a parcel located at 13665 North 12th Street in Tampa, Florida. Item F5 at 10:15 is Commissioner White's item to direct staff to bring back to the BOCC at a future meeting for the board's consideration a draft amendment relating to the Bloomingdale Special Taxing District Charter. Item E1 at 10:30 is a special appearance by Craig Richard, CEO of Tampa Bay Economic Development Council, to present their annual activity report. 11:45, recess for lunch. Those are the changes to the agenda.
Excellent, thank you.
Move the changes.
Second.
I have a Motion by Commissioner White, a second by Commissioner Smith and Kemp, I believe. Kemp. Clerk, please call the roll.
Madam Chair, you can vote on your tablet since everyone's in person.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. We're all here. I have to relearn how to use the technology.
7-0.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. And with that, we are we're at public comment. The board welcomes comments from citizens on any issue or concern. Your opinions are valued in terms of providing input to the board members. However, it's requested at the same time that you address the board that comments are not directed personally at a commissioner or staff member, but rather directed at the issues. This provides a mutual respect between the board members and the public. The board has set aside 45-minute period in the morning immediately following the changes to the agenda for public comment. At the discretion of the chair, the board may again hear public comments at the end of the meeting in the event that we exhaust the 45 minutes. Anyone who wishes to speak virtually or in person during the meeting may do so by completing the online public comment form found at hcflgov.net/speakup. The forum is open to the public. Sign up 48 hours prior to the start of the meeting. An option is also available to notify whether comments will be provided virtually or in person at the meeting. Additionally, in-person speakers will be able to sign up on site via the kiosk or smartphone the day of the meeting. For participants who wish to speak virtually who have completed the online form, an audio call-in number will be provided to you after the form is received by the county. All speakers will be required to provide their name, email address, and telephone number on the online form. This information is requested to facilitate the public comment process. Sign-ups for both virtual and in-person public speaking opportunities for public hearings and public comment close at 9 a.m. on the day of the meeting. The chair will call on speakers by name in the order in which the requests to speak have been received. Prioritization is on a first-come, first-served basis. The boardroom and the multi-purpose room are designated for speakers only. Those who come to County Center to watch the meeting and not to speak will be accommodated in the lobby area. Only the first 12 in-person sign-ups will be allowed in the boardroom for public comment. Anyone speaking in the boardroom must wear a mask. The multi-purpose room will also be available for those residents who sign up to speak after the first 12 people have registered, or for those people who cannot wear a mask due to a medical condition. Speakers are asked to leave the boardroom after sharing their comments with the board. All virtual speakers will be muted upon joining the meeting and will be unmuted after being recognized by the chair by name. Up to 3 minutes are allowed for each speaker. With that, I'd like to ask our first speaker that has signed up, who is attending virtually, Brian Staley, on item F4. Mr. Staley, you're recognized.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Hi, my name is Brian Staley. I live in Valrico, Florida, and I am speaking on behalf of the Special Needs Registry. My wife and I are parents of a typical 14-year-old boy in middle school, as well as a 7-year-old daughter who has been diagnosed with autism and ADHD. 3 years ago, in April of 2019, we became aware of a City of Tampa program for individuals with special needs. Upon trying to register for the program, we became aware we could not participate since we weren't City of Tampa residents. So we reached out to our County Commissioner, Stacey White. Since that time, Commissioner White has been working to start up this program to benefit the residents of Hillsborough County as well. This program would benefit my family and all the special needs families of Hillsborough County by reducing the possibility of a misunderstanding or unnecessary stress when they come in contact with police or fire and rescue. For example, our daughter doesn't always follow verbal instructions or answer verbal questions, and we worry would she be able to communicate with a rescuer in the time of the emergency? Our family is in favor of Hillsborough County creating a voluntary special needs registry and would greatly appreciate having access to a program like this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. The next speaker is also attending virtually, Charlotte Greenberg, on item F3.
Hello. I'm also speaking on the equity profile. First, on item F3, I'm Charlotte Greenberg, and I live in Lutz. On the sales tax increase, where are the community investment tax revenues? That tax began in 1996. Question, do you support reauthorizing the 1/2 cent tax for 30 years? Because the Hillsborough TPO, which was the MPO, that 5 of you sit on, supported using all of the new CIT taxes for transportation in the 20-year-long range transportation plan you approved. Second question, where is the money illegally collected by the All for Transportation fraud? Who would even consider a tax increase in the middle of a pandemic and rampant inflation? It is incredibly heartless to go through with such a plan. I urge and beg you to reconsider this. Please wait till things are functioning again before you talk about increasing a tax on the citizens of Hillsborough. On the equity profile, we have equality of opportunity. We have it in our country, and in Hillsborough is shown by this contract requiring minority participation. Equity, which means being fair and impartial, which is a good thing, has become a political term, attempting to create equal outcomes, which is impossible. So, as a result, some become more equal than others. Orwell is laughing. If we don't understand this as a people, the future will be bleak. It's time for us to come together as citizens and work together for everyone fairly, impartially. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker that's signed up in the general public comment is Buddy Harwell. However, he is signed up actually for the public hearing, I believe. He's listed at D3 that is scheduled for time certain. Would you like to wait until we get to that public hearing?
Mr. Harwell will be unavailable at that time, so I believe he wishes to speak now.
Okay. Mr. Harwell, you're recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners. Buddy Harwell here, Balm, Florida, speaking on behalf of South County. I probably won't be able to make it that far, so we're in support of the moratorium, extending it for the RP2. Last week, Tampa Bay Water came down to South County, met with citizens of Balm to discuss the new well fill program. A lot of questions were asked, a lot of answers. We still have a lot of concerns about this, 4 or 5 more wells being dug 1,000, 2,000 feet down in the aquifer, maybe causing our wells to go dry, causing sinkholes and stuff like that. We believe there's better options. One of them was brought up, well, why can't we take this reclaimed water instead of injecting it? Take this reclaimed water and dump it in the reservoir at Tampa Bay Canal, dilute it, then run it through the processing. They said they're actually looking into that, which would be a lot cheaper alternative. The other thing is, why can't we reclaim water for businesses? We need to initiate, getting them to use the reclaimed water instead of regular public water. I don't know if you know, but every time one of these subdivisions come in, they dig 3 to 5 wells in that area to water common areas. There again, that's another good place for the reclaimed water to go to, or they need to start pumping it out of the retention ponds and reusing it like Sun City Center has for the last 40 years. Last week on EPC meeting, y'all seen how much Mosaic uses, 60 million gallons in a day for the 4 counties. I mean, that's as much as Hillsborough County uses in one day, too. They pump 5 million gallons out of the LFI River every day just to cool towers and machinery and stuff like like that, when citizens could use that drinking water more than that, and they could use the reclaimed water. Something needs to be done with that. It also affects the quality of the Alafia River. I grew up on that river. I've worked on that river for the last 30 years. I've seen the change. I've seen the saltwater intrusion go all the way up to 75 to 301, changing the structure of the river. It don't flow like it should because of all the pumping out. There's mud, sediment, and everything else building up in there. So we just want to let you know that there's still some concerns. Our next step is we probably will be going over to Clearwater to a Tampa Bay Water meeting to express their concerns there. But we just wanted to reach out to y'all today and let
Mr.
you.
Harwell,
Yes.
your time is up, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
The next person on the off the agenda items is Isabel Tassi, who's also attending virtually. Is Ms. Tassi available?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Isabel Tassi. I'm here to speak about and request a ban on the retail sale of pet rabbits. At the end of the regular meeting last month, one commissioner commented that they did not know that there were no pet retail sales of rabbits in the county. That statement is incorrect because there are pet retail sales of rabbits in the county. And I want to make clear that I am in no way attempting to be accusatory or disparaging to any commissioner. I'm certain you receive countless emails every day from constituents on different topics. No one can remember every email they receive. Having said that, each commissioner received an email on November 1st from a local volunteer. I know because I was CC'd on that email. That email lists 18 pet stores in Hillsborough County that sell pet rabbits. Virtually all of them indicated that their sales of pet rabbits increased during the Easter season. One in particular indicated that their sales increased to 30 or 40 rabbits per week for the entire month of Easter. As we all know, this does not bode well for the rabbits. As many of us stated at last month's meeting, we've seen abandoned pet rabbits attempting to fend for themselves in the wild. I believe we can do better as a community. I am asking each of you to please reconsider and at a minimum impose a moratorium on the retail sale of pet rabbits this Easter season until the issue is further investigated, at which time I would hope you enact an ordinance with the same adoption-based model the county currently has for dogs and cats. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next person signed up to speak is Dr. Betsy Colville. It does indicate that she's in person. You may come up to the podium, ma'am. And you have 3 minutes. Wait just a second, please. We want to make sure your mic is on. The lights ahead of you show you when it gets to yellow, you got 30 seconds, and when it gets to red, you're done. Okay, please proceed.
Thank you. Dr. Betsy Colville, Lutz, Florida. I must state again how disappointed I was to see the news you chose to put off any ban on retail rabbit sales. In its stead, you plan to create a public education campaign and a voluntary moratorium for feed stores around Easter. I am curious as to the research done by the staff to come up with this as a plausible solution. This would have been an ideal topic for your Animal Advisory Committee, but I became a member representing Commissioner Kemp over a year ago, and we have yet to meet. If you are serious about the voluntary moratorium, who is approaching the 18 locations that are selling rabbits in Hillsborough County with this suggestion? Easter is now 10 weeks away. Surely the stores are about to place their orders, since the rabbits need to be 8 weeks of age to sell, and they will be born soon. I must remind you that 20 to 30% of the bunnies die in transport. If each of the 18 locations only order 5 rabbits, 27 will die on their way to our county alone. If each place sells only 5 rabbits for $20 a piece, they will make a mere $100. Is the BOCC concerned about the loss of income by these stores? Surely not. I'm trying my hardest to understand the goal. The only victim here is the rabbit. That $20 bunny can live 10+ years, and this impulse buy for a 10-year-old was not expected to be around when they turn 20. Nor did they expect the cost to be $200 to neuter, or the additional costs for maintaining teeth, nails, fleas, vaccines, feed, and housing. We cannot go back, but we can move forward with an immediate mandatory moratorium of rabbit sales now before they get here. Then we go back and do what is best for the animal and create a permanent ban. There are enough rabbits currently in our rescues to satisfy anyone who wants a pet bunny. Domestic rabbits are not the same as those raised for fur and meat, so this ban would have no agricultural effects. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next person signed to speak is Susan.
Commissioner Overman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Rarely do we respond, but I'd just like to say thank you for your thorough email and your comments. I learned more this morning as well, but I hadn't stopped looking at the issue even after it came at the County Commission. I hadn't intended to contact you with regards to your email. So I'd just like you to know that at this time, and it is being further looked at.
Thank you, Commissioner Kemp. I appreciate that. The next speaker is a virtual participant, Susan Holl, H-O-L-L. Are you present?
Madam Chair, Susan is not present.
Okay, thank you very much. The next speaker is Renee Rivard in person. Ms. Rivard, you're recognized. Good morning. Can we make sure her mic is on, please? There you go. It's on.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Commissioners. Renee Rivard, Cortez, Florida. We are back here to ask for a temporary emergency mandatory moratorium on rabbit sales for Easter from March 15th to the end of April. Easter is April 17th this year. Last year, the Tampa Humane Society took in 100 more unwanted pet rabbits than the year before for a total of 261 rabbits. The executive director of the Humane Society told us that it costs them an average of $150 to spay and neuter a rabbit. That means the Humane Society spent $40,000 to spay and neuter 261 rabbits last year. $40,000. How would you like to foot that bill? The rescue that helps Hillsborough County Suncoast House Rabbit Rescue spent $6,500 on spay and neuters last year. Both the executive director of the Humane Society and the vice president of Suncoast House Rabbit Rescue said that a temporary Easter moratorium will help try to get this situation under control while we resume research and discussion about a permanent ban. There was some misinformation about rabbit sales at your last commissioner meeting. Hillsborough County has at least 18 stores that carry rabbits. I've called the stores and they do carry rabbits. I think I visited about half of those stores so far and sent you photos of rabbits in cages too small for them, no hay or chew toys, wire floors, and a baby bunny that looks sick. One of the store owners told me that they sell 30 to 40 rabbits a week during the month of Easter. I had to ask her twice to make sure I heard her correctly. 30 to 40 rabbits a week. Your Animal Services Director stated that the rabbit problem is real and has been going on for decades. In 2007, the CEO of PetSmart, Philip Francis, showed his concerns regarding the growing numbers of bunnies that ended up being dumped in animal shelters soon after being purchased. So he committed to stop selling rabbits in PetSmart stores. In 2008, Petco stopped selling rabbits as well. We called and visited many of the stores in the greater Tampa Bay area that sell rabbits. Even the salespeople are telling us that people who purchase are unprepared for the huge responsibility and expense of caring for pet rabbits. Please consider a resolution to curb the Easter impulse buys with an emergency mandatory moratorium. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. The next speaker is also a virtual attendee, Alex Stein, or Stein, I believe it is. Is Alex available? Mr. or Ms. Stein?
Alex has not checked in.
Has not checked in. Okay, thank you very much. The next speaker is Layla Lilliquist in person.
If possible, I have a few just pages from the last 20 years of trying to protect our oak tree park at the corner of Lumsden and Parsons. I'd like to pass it around with the community plan.
You can provide it
I'd like
to the
those
clerk.
back at the end.
Okay, you can provide it to the clerk.
We'd have time to pass it around.
Please proceed.
Good morning, County Commission. Leila Lilliquist, Brandon, Florida. I'm here to speak about the library replacement in Brandon. The signs give a 2-week period for comments. Landowners in this area were not notified by mail. I believe the sign violates the state laws on sunshine law. Residents are represented and full disclosure of intent, and as such, town hall meetings, open houses, and citizen involvement. None of those have been done in this case. Over the past 2 years, we have seen our existing library closed to COVID. In fact, we have recently reopened. My concern is there's no mention of what will happen to our existing library if a new library is built. Failure to disclose. To my memory, Center Place Arts program allowed the library to be built to partner with the community. Currently, Dr. Goldsmith's office next to the library is for sale. Adjacent parking would be available if the county bought this property for the library. I feel our community has been kept in the dark where sunshine can't work. We're in the dark. This proposed project would cost upwards of more than $25 million at a cost of farther degradation of our green spaces in Brandon, which is ridiculous. We just went through the racetrack service station going in at Kings and Lumsden, which is still not open, that destroyed about 15 acres of wetland. Please save our trees, improve our roads, and keep our current library in place. As a member of the Community Plan of Brandon, in 2010, goal number 2 stated an interconnected corridor of existing parks and preserves. This concept would include an emerald necklace of green spaces. If you notice, the Oak Tree Park is in that picture of the community plan in the bottom corner underneath number 2. That shows clearly the canopy of oak trees that is in the projected plan for the library as the first draft of the library plan. So if you look at the draft plan that they gave us, it clearly shows that that canopy would be designated. They supposedly have bought the adjacent property and are telling us that eventually there'll be a Head Start and a senior center provided later on. In the meantime, we wait and see if we can have our 4th of July parade at the corner of Lumsden and Parsons. Especially, and this necklace was to include our Little League baseball diamonds, the lake around the library, the all-persons children's park, and our community plan included a passive park in presentation to the community. I would much prefer to keep our existing library and saving our last oak tree canopy. If Mr. Vinnick is including an oak tree park with his Encore project in downtown Tampa, we should be able to keep this one. According to the plan that was originally presented in phase 1, it would not.
Your time is up, but I'm going to make sure this gets back to you because you asked for it back. But
yeah, the last time I passed things around, Mr. Hickenbotham kept my original newspaper article. The lawyer tried to get it back, and he ignored her request. So
all right,
that's why
we'll make sure you get it back, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
But thank you for listening. I'm tired of this. You know, you guys don't contact the local community. We don't know what's going on with what is going on with the library. We don't want a new library.
We hear you, ma'am, but your time is up.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. The next speaker is Ms. Sharon Calvert, and she is attending virtually. Ms. Calvert, you're recognized.
Madam Chair, Calvert, yes, there you go.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Sharon Calvert, and president of Fix Our Roads First. I'll reiterate some of what was previously stated. The 20-year long-range transportation plan of the Hillsborough County TPO, which 5 county commissioners stood on and approved, apparently reflects that all of a newly reauthorized CIT tax is spent on roads and transportation. Will this commission address whether the public should assume there is a plan to reauthorize the half-cent CIT tax, the current one expires in 2026, which has been used for numerous capital projects, including the Raymond James Stadium, for another 30 years? If that assumption is correct, will these reauthorized CIT funds be used all on transportation capital projects? Also, the TPO's long-range plan states that $35 million a year is needed for maintenance. But the county apparently is telling the public that $60 million is needed. Is there a disconnect, and which one is correct? I understand the county is planning some additional transportation town halls that will include the municipalities and HART. But why are these meetings being held separately from the meetings already planned when each of these entities have transportation plans, including HART's 10-year TDP, where HART also includes the rail projects, the Tampa streetcar, and the CSX rail lines in their plan? It appears there are numerous disconnects regarding putting a 30-year, $18 billion tax on the November ballot, including a huge concern and disconnect that the over $500 million of the unlawful AFT taxes have not been refunded back to the taxpayers of Hillsborough County. Thank you for addressing these issues and disconnects.
Thank you very much. That's the last speaker that I have listed signed up to speak today. With that, I don't see any other, well, we'll close the time for public speakers. I don't see any items that have been removed for a separate vote, so we don't need to worry about that. Consent items removed or highlighted, we've already addressed, and we've deferred item F1. So with that, I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Cohen, a second by Commissioner Kemp, and please indicate your vote.
Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Myers, can she offer verbal?
Microphone, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you very much. We have another 10 minutes before our public hearing, so Ms. Wise, you would like to address the regular agenda items?
Thank you. Yes, there's a few minutes before 10 o'clock. We're going to move to item B1. This is the one regular agenda item. This is to an award for 2-year agreements for ongoing and as-needed neighborhood roadway resurfacing throughout the county. Mr. Stromer with Procurement Services is going to take us through that, and he is going to speak about the MBE participation as well as the apprenticeship program, as well as details about this particular agenda item. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Stromer, you're recognized.
Good morning, Scott Stromer, Procurement Services. Item B1 is asking the board to award and execute 2-year agreements with the overall lowest responsible bidders by area for ongoing and as-needed neighborhood roadway resurfacing and associated improvements throughout the county for the Engineering and Operations Department at a total cost of $37,175,944.04. Specifically, awards are recommended to Ajax Paving Industries of Florida, LLC, for the South County area in the amount of $19,578,817.49, and Hubbard Construction Company for the North County area in the amount of $17,597,126.55. A disadvantaged business enterprise program participation goal of 5% was established for the project, and both recommended vendors have committed to achieving this goal. While the goal may appear to be low when compared to other construction projects, it takes into account that approximately 60% of the total award amount is allocated to the purchase of asphaltic concrete, which is the primary paving material that is not easily subcontracted. When this cost of the material is removed from the calculation, the participation goal effectively increases to approximately 12% for both firms. As valued partners, both Ajax and Hubbard will endeavor to ultimately achieve higher disadvantaged business participation than is required but the actual level of achievement will ultimately depend on the projects that are approved and assigned to each during the term of the contract. Additionally, this award is the first to incorporate the new construction apprenticeship program, which became effective just 4 months ago. As a result, these awards require at least 12% of the total work hours be performed by apprentices. It's important to recognize the two recommended firms, Ajax and Hubbard, and the third unsuccessful bidder, Preferred Materials Incorporated, for their partnership and quality of the responses. Because this was the very first solicitation that included this new requirement, these three firms were instrumental in helping refine the solicitation and method for collecting information. All three vendors attended our vendor training and actively engaged with staff throughout the solicitation process to help adapt the Florida Department of Transportation's apprenticeship training program to meet the needs of our program. I'd like to personally thank Linda Wheat, our Procurement Administration Coordinator, and Kelly Trinka Stone, one of our senior business analysts, both of which were responsible for developing the required procedures and systems to administer this program, and now the day-to-day management of the same. I'm grateful for their amazing work and the speed at which they accomplished this important task. We look forward to a great program and sincerely appreciate the board's support. With that, Procurement Services Department does recommend approval.
Thank you very much for your report.
Move approval.
Move approval by Commissioner White. Do I have a
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Myers. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Cohen, you're recognized.
Yeah, I think there's two things I'd like to point out about this beyond what Mr. Stromer just said. Both good things. The first is just to highlight again, this is $37 million being spent on repaving, something that we hear from our constituents all the time about the need for. And second, that, and I'm not sure, I don't think he covered this, that there's an apprenticeship component to this as well. And that I believe there's a requirement that up to 12% of the project will be done by people in apprenticeship programs. So a real win-win in a lot of different ways, and something I think we can all be proud of. Not to mention the explanation related to the DMDWBE participation, given the huge amount of money of this contract that gets spent on raw materials. So thank you very much, Madam Administrator, for bringing this to us, and I'm going to enthusiastically support getting this repaving done right away.
Thank you, Commissioner Cohen. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. And I also just would draw attention to the apprenticeship program, which we have just passed as a board, and I'm excited to see that move on because I know it's a great need. Training and opportunity for apprentices so that we have those kinds of jobs and opportunities here in Hillsborough County. But secondly, I think staff did a really wonderful job in kind of breaking this down in a way that I think was more is a good way to really proceed in the future. First, you have to kind of understand how this works with the DWBE programs and what's available. And I do appreciate this being broken down this way, but also a commitment to also search for possibly other vendors, or even bring them here to Hillsborough County for when we don't find any minority vendors that we can even go to for certain services and capital projects.
Thank you, Commissioner Kemp. Commissioner Myers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I echo everything Commissioner Cohen and Commissioner Kemp have already said, and kudos to staff for presenting to us a very thorough agenda item that we can vote on. So to Ron Barton, Scott Strom, and team, thank you. I enjoyed working with them and talking about the MBE, and where they go back, and when we had the 12%, I raised some questions with them, and they came back with a very nice, delicious menu, breaking everything down and very self-explanatory for us to approve today. And again, staff, thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. And I would like to echo many of the comments that have been made. What I really appreciate about this particular process that has been work through is the elements of product or supply that also we looked for opportunities to work with DWBE suppliers as well as maybe looking at contracts that allow us to have materials that are exempt from sales tax for government jobs. It gives us the ability to actually make sure that we're using our resources very responsibly, as well as spreading the opportunity to local businesses in our community, as well as allowing everyone to participate. So thank you very, very much. And with that, please indicate your vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Ms. Wise.
Thank you, and thank you, commissioners, for your comments, and kudos to staff for really analyzing it, and for Commissioner Myers for always challenging us to do better. The next item, since we still have a few more minutes, is Commissioner Myers, if you're ready for item F2. This is regarding a sponsorship for the Tampa Bay Caribbean Carnival.
Commissioner Myers, you're recognized.
Thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair. This is one that's self-explanatory, that we're providing $50,000 to the Caribbean Festival, and we'll make note that they're having their event on April 29th through May 1st, and so I ask that you support this agenda item.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Myers, a second by Commissioner Kemp, and I'll say, so we have 3 minutes before our public hearing. I want to tell you, I've attended this carnival and worked with the folks that organize it every year, and am thrilled to see this effort. It brings fun, music, great food, community together in a community that really has diversity and celebrates its diversity. And to have this carnival each year brings a richness to the university area, because they oftentimes have it up at the university CDC. And do you know whether or not it's going to occur there this year as well?
Perry Harvey Park on
Perry
April
Harvey
30th.
Park? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's always a lot of fun. It's definitely a great time to come learn and share and have a wonderful time. So with that, we have a motion by Commissioner Myers, a second by Commissioner Kemp. Please take a roll call vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Ms. Wise.
How about if I talk a little slowly so we can introduce item D1. Item D1, and Cheryl Howell with Affordable Housing Services is going to take us through this hearing. This is to adopt a resolution approving the list of real property inventory for affordable housing pursuant to Florida statutes.
And I see it is right at 10 o'clock. Ms. Howell, you're recognized.
D1.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Cheryl Howell, Affordable Housing Director. This morning, I am requesting that you adopt a resolution approving the list of real property inventory appropriate for affordable housing pursuant to Section 125.379 Florida statutes, and authorize the acceptance of the properties into the capital asset financial records of the Board of County Commissioners. There is no fiscal impact associated with this agenda item.
Thank you, Ms. Howell. I appreciate that.
This is a public hearing.
This is a public hearing, and with that, don't see any discussion. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kemp, a second by Commissioner Cohen. With that, could we have a roll call vote? I'm sorry, not roll call vote. Indicate your vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. Ms. Wise.
Thank you. The next item is item D2. Ms. Howell will take us through this as well. This is regarding a public hearing for the HOME-ARP allocation plan.
Ms. Howell,
Great. Cheryl Howell here, again, Director of Affordable Housing. Here to recommend that we conduct a public hearing on February 2nd, 2022 at 10 a.m. to accept comments on the draft HOME-ARP allocation plan, and B, to close the public comment and review period and adopt the HOME-ARP allocation plan. The allocation plan recommends utilizing the following eligible activities: acquisition and development of non-congruent shelters, tenant-based rental assistance, development of rental housing, and planning and administration. There's no fiscal impact associated with this agenda item. This is a public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Howell, for that report. This is a public hearing. I don't see any comments here, but I would like to say it is, as we all know, we have a serious issue with very high rents and very high property values in this area. And allocating resources for this HOME-ARP allocation plan is critically important to the success of our residents, and also can protect our communities from the social challenges impacted by those that do not have shelter. So I would like to entertain a motion for approval unless there's other comments.
So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Kemp, a second by Commissioner Myers. Please indicate your vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Ms. Wise.
Thank you. The next public hearing will be led by Johanna Lundgren from the County Attorney's Office. Is item D3. This is relating to the moratorium related to the RP2 area. Ms. Lundgren is here virtually.
Ms. Lundgren, you're recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is the second public hearing for the consideration of the adoption of an ordinance extending the moratorium on the acceptance and processing of applications for rezonings and plan development zoning modifications within a portion of the Residential Plan 2 RP2 future land use designation of the comprehensive plan until the earlier of February 2nd, 2023, or the date of conclusion of State of Florida Division of Administrative Hearings case number 213467 and any appeals thereof. This is the second public hearing, and board action is required to adopt the ordinance. The first public hearing was held on January 12th, 2022. I'm available if there are any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Lundgren. I appreciate that. And I would like to ask the clerk and see if I can get the board's consideration. Earlier today, during our public comment, we had a gentleman by the name of Buddy Harwell who was to speak at the public hearing but was unable to stay, but he made reference to it. Is it possible we could include his public comment in the record for the public hearing? It's in the meeting. It'll be in the meeting minutes, but it might not be included in the public hearing record, and that's my question.
Unless the county attorney has any objection, I don't see a problem.
We have no objection, Madam Chair.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right. We have a motion by Commissioner
Second.
Smith, a second by Commissioner Kemp. Seeing no other comments, please record your vote.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
There you go. So we have a verbal yes from Commissioner Myers. Clerk?
Thank you. Motion carried 6-1. Commissioner Hagan voted no.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Ms. Wise?
Thank you. The next item is item D4. This is a second public hearing to adopt a resolution related to a brownfield area. Yaksha Petrovic will take us through this item.
Thank you. You're recognized.
Yeah. Good morning, Commissioners. Yaksha Petrovic, Economic Development Department. This is a second public hearing for designation of a brownfield area for the parcel located at 13635 North 12th Street, Tampa, Florida. On September 17th, 2021, Blue UACDC1 LLC submitted an application requesting that Hillsborough County designate the parcel as a brownfield area. The property consists of approximately 2.84 acres and is shown on the projected map, which I'm about to share. Brownfield areas are real property. The expansion, redevelopment, or use of which may be complicated by actual or perceived environmental contamination. The property is currently vacant. The applicant plans to redevelop the property with 61 units of affordable housing. The property.
Sir, just to let you know, we are not seeing the presentation yet.
Oh.
Now we can see it.
Thank you. The property is currently zoned for land development, and the future land use designation for the property is residential 20 and office commercial 20, and it is located within the limits of the adopted University Area Community Plan. According to the attached zoning verification letter, the subject parcel is zoned in a PD approved for a maximum of 85 affordable housing multifamily residential units by utilizing the affordable housing density bonus. The designation provides certain potential benefits to the applicant associated with cleanup of the site. There is no financial impact to the county associated with this designation. At this second public hearing before the Board of County Commissioners, pursuant to Section 376.802C Florida statutes, the board shall designate the brownfield area if Blue UACDC1 LLC establishes the following. 1, a person who owns or controls the potential brownfield site is requesting the designation and has agreed to rehabilitate and redevelop their brownfield site. 2, the rehabilitation and redevelopment of the proposed brownfield site will result in economic productivity of the area, along with the creation of 5 new permanent jobs at the brownfield site that are full-time equivalent positions not associated with implementation of the brownfield site rehabilitation agreement and that are not associated with redevelopment project demolition or construction activities pursuant to the redevelopment of the proposed brownfield site or area. However, the jobs creation requirement does not apply to the rehabilitation and redevelopment of a brownfield site that will provide affordable housing as defined in Section 420.0004 Florida statutes, or certain recreational areas, conservation areas, or parks. 3, the redevelopment of the proposed site is consistent with local comprehensive plan and is permittable use under the applicable local land development regulations. 4, notice of the proposed rehabilitation of the brownfield area has been provided to neighbors and nearby residents of the proposed area to be designated pursuant to Section 376.801C Florida statutes, and the person proposing the area for designation has afforded to those receiving notice the opportunity to comment and suggestions about rehabilitation, and notice has been posted in the affected areas. 5, the person proposing the area for designation has provided reasonable assurance that it has sufficient financial resources to implement and complete the rehabilitation agreement and redevelopment of the brownfield site. An advertised community meeting of this designation was held at University Area Community Development Corporation Harvest Hope Center at 13704 North 20th Street, Tampa, Florida, 33613 on December 6, 2021. At the community meeting, no citizens attended and no comments were received. The first public hearing was held on January 12, 2022 at the Board of County Commissioners meeting. No citizens signed up for public comment or provided comments during the public hearing. County staff has reviewed the request by Blue UACDC1 LLC that the county designate the parcel located at 13635 North 12th Street, Tampa, in Florida as a brownfield area. Based on the documents submitted, county staff finds that the proposed designation and subsequent development of the property meets all the criteria defined in Section 376.802C Florida statutes. As a result of these findings, county staff recommends approval of the brownfield area designation. The applicant's representative, Brett Berman, is present and has a short presentation describing the project. After his presentation, I, along with Vivian Arenas Battles with the County Attorney's Office and applicant's representatives, are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Brett Brummond with the Goldstein Environmental Law Firm. We represent the applicant, Blue UACDC1 LLC. The applicant is making this request due to a perception of contamination generated from an adjacent petroleum discharge that was flagged as an environmental risk during the applicant's phase 1 environmental site assessment. And if I may just share my screen to provide just a visual image by the rendering on the project.
We can see your screen, sir. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So the applicant is making this request due to a petroleum discharge from an adjacent gas station. Approval of this resolution today through acceptance of staff's recommendation will allow the applicant to mitigate any environmental risk from that adjacent discharge, as well as mitigate some of the costs already incurred by the applicant to further evaluate that risk prior to construction. So as set forth in the applicant's application to the county and in staff's recommendation, the applicant satisfies all 5 of the Brownfield area designation criteria. Namely, first, the applicant owns the property and has agreed to redevelop and rehabilitate it. Second, the applicant or the project itself will result in economic productivity for the area. And because this is affordable housing, the job creation requirement does not apply. But notwithstanding that exception to the job creation requirement, the applicant will create 4 permanent full-time jobs at the property on site. Third, the project is consistent with the local comprehensive plan and is permittable under local land development regulations. Fourth, the applicant, with assistance from the county, provided notice to the public of the proposed designation and held a community meeting in person, at which no comments were received. And finally, 5, the applicant has provided reasonable assurances to show that the complete development cost has been covered through a combination of equity and debt, in addition to assistance from the Florida Housing Finance Corporation and Hillsborough County. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentations. This is a public hearing. I'm not seeing any questions at this time. I do know that some of us actually were able to attend the Uptown Sky Affordable Housing Project. We're proud to see additional units being offered, and that's where this property actually is. So with that, not seeing any comments.
Move
approval by Commissioner Kemp, second by Commissioner Myers. Can you please indicate your vote?
Motion carried 7-0.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Ms. Wise.
Thank you. It's 10:15-ish. And so we have item F5, which is Commissioner White's item, to ask staff to consider changes to the Bloomingdale Special Taxing District Charter. And this is Commissioner White's item.
Commissioner White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I have verified that my outside folks are logged in virtually and ready to participate, even though we're a couple of minutes early. There are a couple things I'd like to note when it's time for me to introduce the board's motion, just a minor scrivener's error and just clarification on a couple of points and a minor change on one point. But before I do that, I have asked Tom Leach, the president of the Bloomingdale Special Taxing District, to join us. And he has with him Ron Cristaldi and Matt Newton from the law firm that they've engaged on this matter. And I've asked them to prepare a brief 3 to 5 minute presentation on this issue. So Mr. Leach or Mr. Cristaldi, Mr. Newton, if you're there, I'm going to hand it over to you for your presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can you all hear and see us okay?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. Thank you for the time here this morning. My name is Ron Cristaldi with the Shoemaker Firm. We're here to discuss item F5 on behalf of the Bloomingdale Special Taxing District. To my right is my partner, Matt Newton, and to my left is Mr. Tom Leach. Tom is a military veteran, having served in the Marine Corps, and is the volunteer president of the Bloomingdale Special Taxing District. Mr. Newton is going to give a brief overview of the substance of item F5. I wanted to just make a few preliminary comments I wanted to note that in what is being asked for today, Bloomingdale is not asking the county to commit any resources, financial or otherwise, to wall maintenance. So there's no request for deployment of county resources. We are also not asking through this mechanism to abrogate or circumvent any permitting or other county process in maintaining the wall. We will comply with all existing county processes. And we note that this is narrowly tailored. It only applies to the Bloomingdale Special Taxing District, no one else and no other district. I also wanted to mention I did have occasion to speak with both Ms. Wise and Ms. Beck, and we wanted to compliment staff. We've got a great relationship with them, and we look forward to continuing to work with them to bring something back to Commission for consideration and approval. So with that being said, I'm going to turn over to my law colleague here, Matt Newton, to survey the 3 issues at hand under item F5.
Thanks, Ron. And thank you, Commission. Happy Groundhog's Day. So as Ron pointed out, this is just a very straightforward ordinance. The enabling ordinance for the Bloomingdale Special Taxing District has been amended over the years, but a lot of it is outdated. And this is an exercise in clarification and modernization. There are various walls that are uniquely situated throughout Bloomingdale Taxing District. We just want to clarify that we have rights to protect that. Nothing specific, just to clarify what's been understood over the years. Also, we want to modernize the payment process and clarify that in the post-pandemic world, which is hopefully coming soon, that the type of remote communication that everybody's gotten used to may continue. And that's certainly the case now, but to avoid confusion in the future, just make sure that's clarified. I want to share my warm feelings with staff. I love working with staff, and look forward to continuing working along the Hillsborough County team.
With that being said, I'll also turn over to Mr. Leach to say a few words.
Good morning. I want to thank the commissioners and the staff for your support for this opportunity for our endeavor. At this time, I know of no opposition amongst our residents to what we're trying to do. We've been working on this for months now, and we've had a regular meeting per month. No residents have attended who have expressed opposition to what we're doing. We look forward to continuing to work with you and building a sound relationship. And thank you again.
And on behalf of the over 25,000 residents of Bloomingdale, we appreciate the Commission's time in considering this issue, and happy to answer any questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you, gentlemen. Commissioner White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Gentlemen, I appreciate all the work and effort that you've put into this. The Bloomingdale community, although it's becoming an older community at this point, they've done a great job of not allowing their community to become blighted. They have the special taxing district in place, and they also have a very strong homeowners association within Bloomingdale. So what they're looking at here is just a few housekeeping matters with respect to the way the special taxing district board conducts their business, and then also the really big issue at hand is the maintenance of this expansive masonry wall that is built throughout the community. So before I read my motion into the record, I just want to clean a couple things up in my recommended board motion. I do refer to a Bloomingdale Special Taxing District Charter. Their enabling document is actually embedded in a county ordinance, so I'll refer to it as such when I read my motion into the record. A scrivener's error on bullet point number 2, the very first word TO should not be in there, so I'll strike that when I read this into the record. And then a slight change that I'll make, I threw this word controls in there in bullet point number 3. That word would have very specific legal implications, so in speaking with the county attorney staff, I'm going to move away from that language and just say, instead of controlled for purposes of, I'll say is able to perform. So with that being said, I'll read this rather lengthy motion into the record. That would be to direct staff to bring back to the Board of County Commissioners at a future meeting for the board's consideration a draft amendment and an item scheduling applicable public hearings to the Bloomingdale Special Taxing District Enabling Ordinance to include the following. Number one, allowing for members of the Special Taxing District Board to attend board meetings virtually, but prohibiting virtual participation to count towards a quorum so as to be compliant with Florida statutes. Number two, allowing board purchases with a bank debit card in a way that is compliant with Florida statutes. And number three, memorializing that the Bloomingdale Special Taxing District is able to perform maintenance such as painting and pressure washing to the exterior face of applicable community screening walls that face Bloomingdale Special Taxing District property.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner White, a second by Commissioner Myers. Any discussion? That, please indicate your vote or record your vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Excellent, thank you very much. Ms. Wise.
Thank you. Would you all like to consider waiving your rules and allowing Craig Richard to present his item E1?
I'll entertain that motion.
Move to waive the rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner White, a second by Commissioner Cohen and Kemp and everybody else, I think. So please record your vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. With that, we can turn it over to Craig Richards, CEO of Tampa Bay Economic Development Council, to present their annual activity report.
Mr. Richards, it's a pleasure to see you. You're recognized.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure to be with you, Chairman. And I want to also thank all of you, all of the commissioners, for allowing me the opportunity to be with you today. Unfortunately, it's not in person, but I think I've seen most of you in person at some point over the past month or so. So always good to be with you. This morning, what I'd like to do is just, because it's been a while since I've been before you, to give you an update on some of our activities. And I've created a PowerPoint presentation to present to you and some highlights of the past fiscal year. And we'll weave in some of the things that we're doing as well for this year. With that, if I can try to share my screen with you. There we go. Let me know if that comes up. Are you receiving that?
It's coming up, sir, but it would be nice if it were bigger. Steph? There you go.
How's that?
That's perfect. Thank you, sir.
Good. Thank you. So this year, I want to bring greetings on behalf of our executive officers. Our new chair for this year is James Nozar, who was at one point he was a strategic advisor to the Board for Strategic Property Partners. He's now started his own firm, Easton, Maine, and he's serving as chair this year. Our vice chair is Angel Gonzalez, he's the regional president of South State Bank. And then recently voted in as our secretary treasurer is Joe Lopano, the CEO of the airport. And of course, many of you know our past chair, Jim Weiss, who was a regional president at Fifth Third. He's recently moved to South Florida, but he's still very much engaged. And then Ron Cristaldi, who you just heard from, is our general counsel this year. So they bring you greetings and well wishes. I'd like to kind of recap our strategic plan real briefly with you. In fact, the county was a funder and a partner on our 3-year strategic plan. We're now entering the 3rd year of that strategic plan. The plan has basically 3 components, and all of you know that business development is one of our main priorities. New to our mission, if you will, is talent attraction and placemaking. And then the bottom 4 squares are basically some of the values that we hold as we undertake these initiatives. So last year we had a really good year. In spite of everything, in spite of an ongoing and lingering pandemic, we were still able to close on 22 projects, bringing in almost 2,800 new jobs to the area, as well as $325 million in capital investments. And all of those exceeded our goals, more than 100% of our goals. And by all means and measures, it was definitely a successful year. Some of those projects, well, all of the projects are here on the screen, and you'll recognize quite a few of these names, like Chromalloy and Rapid7, which was a new cybersecurity company that moved here from Boston. Suzuki Marine moved their headquarters here. And of course, probably the most, well, these are the 4 new headquarters that we brought to town: Suzuki, OpsWide, Genesis Systems, and Signode that moved here from Chicago. Our signature project, of course, was the Pfizer announcement, which announced well over 500 new jobs that'll be located in the Heights area. Part of that strategic plan required us to drill down deeper into our targeted industries. And those strategic growth areas include cybersecurity, fintech, health tech, cancer solutions, and logistics information and technology. One of the tools that we used to help drill down on this was this artificial intelligence system. It's really a predictive analysis tool that allows us to highly target company prospects. And we typically use this system to identify the companies that we want to target, and then we reach out to them through, through LinkedIn. And this is an example of some of the ads that we've placed in LinkedIn to attract companies. And we were pretty successful. We got 9 new leads from this LinkedIn campaign, and 3 of those became active projects with us. Next, I want to show you a video that we then, we also use in our social media, but we previewed it at our annual meeting. So with that, I'd like to show you this video.
Technology is one of the fastest growing segments in the industry. ETCC first came to Tampa in 2005 with a few hundred employees. Today, I'm proud to say our operation has grown significantly to more than 1,300 people, one of our company's largest offices worldwide. Rapidly growing fintech startups are also planting roots in Tampa. They're welcomed by supportive local government, business, and entrepreneurial leaders who are eager to help them succeed.
We are in the midst of the fintech revolution. All of these companies that are creating, democratizing fintech for all sorts of businesses. It's not about, if we're going to make the transformation of fintech. It's not about.
There's a very strong tech ecosystem here, as well as a very strong foundation of women that are supporting other women, especially in technology. So in addition to the startup support that you hear about a lot here, there's also this kind of amazing ecosystem that supports minority and women founders. So that has been an amazing experience that I don't think I would have necessarily found.
The city's growth, local universities, and talent really sets it apart. This area ranks as the #1 in Florida for skilled tech talent. People are going to be evaluating where they live based on where they want to live as opposed to where the commercial opportunity is. And frankly, I think that Tampa is a sleeping giant, and I think it's set to explode.
Many people confuse us as simply being a bank. We're actually a technology firm with a bank in it. We spend $11 billion plus a year in technology. Tampa is a great market because we have lots of local universities such as University of South Florida, University of Tampa, Hillsborough Community College, where we can pull diverse talent from. And so people can join JP Morgan from an awesome, diverse skill set and actually make a career and live the rest of their life in the Tampa Bay area. So when you're running a startup company, you're really looking for a place to call home, take the roots, plant your seed here, plant your base here, and really grow your career right here in a city that's growing with you.
I wanted an area brimming with innovative energy, stocked with skilled talent, and family friendly. And I found all of that and so much more here in Tampa Bay.
Tampa, for me, my family, has been a great transition. It's got a big city feel in a small market with great opportunity, whether you're talking financial services or other industries.
Not only is Tampa a wonderful, beautiful place to be, but there's also this kind of emerging technology hub here that is the opportunity to be on the ground floor of what we think is going to be the next electronic place.
Okay, let's see if I can get this to move forward. There we go. So we also use social media to attract talent to the area. And the EDC, our marketing team, piloted a talent attraction campaign targeting technology companies and entrepreneurs in 10 key markets across the country. And we placed some ads that highlighted our plentiful career opportunities, our great quality of life, and of course, over the course of about 2 months, the campaign generated over 680,000 impressions and about 2,000 visits to our talent attraction website, Make It Tampa Bay. So I also want to take this opportunity to thank you, commissioners, for approving the funding for fiscal year 22 and 23 on the Make It Tampa Bay campaign. I also want to thank Ron Barton and his team that was really the genesis of creating this idea, which is a collaboration between the EDC and Visit Tampa Bay. We've been working hand in glove with Santiago's staff to continue to create content for this campaign. Some of the key sectors that they're going to be focusing on in the next 12 to 18 months include tech and cybersecurity and healthcare. The markets that we'll be looking at is actually focusing on in Chicago, New York City, and Boston. And as you see, some of the channels that we'll be using is TV streaming, NPR and Stitcher, Forbes, using some digital ads and social amplification there. And of course, all of the social media channels like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So we're planning on kicking that campaign off this mid-February, and we're looking forward to some more exciting results from this campaign. Now, the third part of our strategic plan includes placemaking, which is our newest element to our mission and strategic plan. And these are the 4 values that drive that: diversity, inclusive growth, social innovation, and working with our opportunity zones. This past year, what we were able to do was we actually hired a new community development director. His name is Tony Brown. That's his picture in the right-hand corner. And we've worked with a number of partners, and we built a coalition to help us form basically a smart manufacturing regional innovation center in East Tampa. And we went after a grant by the EDA, and unfortunately, we were not successful in doing that. There were over 560 applicants for the grant, and actually that received the grant, and only one of them was in Florida, and that was in Osceola County. So, but nevertheless, it provided a basis for us to work with our partners and try to develop a catalyst type of project that will anchor that East Tampa manufacturing corridor. Just recently, we issued an RFP for some urban planning and land use services to help us envision what that corridor could possibly look like. Part of that community development function was to build some capital to help us work through some of these initiatives. And last year, we launched a capital campaign to fund our inclusive economic growth initiative. And we had a $2 million campaign, and we've raised $1.4 million of that already. And we're very confident that we'll get to the $2 million this year. Again, the whole idea is to focus on attracting some catalytic types of projects and investments in East Tampa and the Central Park Ybor area, as well as Uptown. And the third part of our foundation's mission is to help develop and launch some career awareness campaigns that highlight certificates and degree programs in high demand jobs. And we're working with CareerSource, Tampa Bay, as well as the Hillsborough Community College on those campaigns. This is an example of one of the workforce partnerships that we have with HCC. It's an upskill initiative that we're planning to, in fact, we're in the process of doing some focus groups to help us determine what the best messaging needs to be and the delivery of those messaging, how that needs to be done. But it's designed to launch career awareness with HCC to drive enrollment in some of these programs. So with that, I think I got in my allotted 10 or 12 minutes. I just want to say again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you today, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Richards, for your report. And I just want to thank you for the work that you do. I recently had the pleasure of attending not only my first meeting with your council, but also got an opportunity to participate in the Startup Awards, the 9th Annual Startup Awards, to see the amount of energy there was, not only in the innovation that was being presented by these new, excited companies that are doing great things, but also how much they enjoyed being in the Tampa Bay area. Some of those companies were local grown, but many of them were from all around the country. And I would suggest that having that event here in support by the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council, as well as our economic development efforts with the county, they were quite impressed with how awesome Tampa Bay is in the entire region. And that really helps us bring excitement, investment, and commitment to our community. Thank you much for your report. With that, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Kemp.
Thank you. And having worked with the EDC as a board representative last year, I'd just like to say that I was very supportive and impressed with the kind of direction that the EDC has taken. It's a new initiative to fundraise and do a foundation to start to fund projects in the area. I like the focuses that were mentioned, the East Tampa, the Ybor, the moving from there to the USF IP area. I'm not sure exactly what it's called right now, but anyway, the USF area. And I just think Mr. Richards, you and also our staff with Ron Barton have been doing a great job in moving forward and looking at directions and projects as we move forward.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Kemp. Commissioner Cohen, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I just, at the very beginning of this presentation, Mr. Richard, you flashed some logos of companies across the screen, and I wanted to highlight one that was really interesting that recently became a tenant of our Port Tampa Bay, our Port Authority. And the name of the company is Puraglobe. And what they do is they recycle cardboard packaging material into a product that can be reused, and they send it right back out again on the containers that it came in on that used to leave empty. So a really innovative new company comes to Tampa Bay to make a major investment and really at the forefront of environmental stewardship and sustainability. And I want to just compliment the EDC on your role in bringing them here, and just mention that, you know, behind all of these statistics are some great stories about interesting companies creating jobs and doing interesting work. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate you bringing attention to that.
It was also a pleasure to see that one of the award nominees that participated in that startup award has become a member of the Tampa Bay Economic Council. So I think it's the work that you're doing there is encouraging new businesses not only to grow here, but also to participate in the further economic development in our communities. So thank you very, very much for your report.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Wise.
Thank you. The next item is I think we're through with all of our time certain items now, so we can move on to the commissioner items. And Commissioner Oberman, the next item is yours, item F3, regarding the transportation Surtax discussion.
Excellent. Thank you very much. As you know, we have a very stiff deadline on getting some of the work that this board needs to get into place to address the overall needs of Hillsborough County. I've submitted this item today as it's critically important that this board has an opportunity to discuss a possible transportation surtax, how we invest in our community long term. I've included a proposed timeline from the staff and backup material, and highlight that the April 30th deadline is to approve any item that we bring forward for this surtax. I'll stress that we're under a strict time constraint and that it is quickly approaching. In addition, I don't want to get ahead of our transportation town hall meetings, because citizen input on this issue is very important to our discussions. I'll note that the last town hall is on March 3rd, and that's in District 4, in Commissioner White's district. This board needs to have sufficient time to discuss our options, and a workshop is a viable, in my opinion, way that we can actually address that rather than during a board meeting when oftentimes we have time constraints. We have some huge items to decide, and whether or not we want to proceed with a surtax. If so, do we proceed with an ordinance or a charter amendment? And these are just the tip of the iceberg of many of the decisions this board will need to address. I'll also recognize that my submitted motion requested a report with the results from the 4 transportation town hall meetings. As I mentioned, we discussed earlier, due to a Scrivener's error in the January 12th meeting recap, it has been corrected. But we see that Commissioner Myers has already made that request in the report, and I want to thank you, Commissioner Myers, for requesting that from our staff and that your motion, and I'll defer to you on the presentation of that report, but offer these workshops as an option to hear those reports. So I'd like to direct staff to schedule at least one workshop, potentially 2, in March, one in the first 2 weeks prior to the meeting-free period, and the other on the current March 30th workshop, either as a hold or as a special meeting so that we can make some decisions, to hold the board discussion regarding the possible surtax. The other challenge is we may need to consider actually providing instructions to our county attorney to begin drafting that language based on not only the first workshop, but possibly on a discussion that we can have in the early part of March. And with that, I'll open it up for conversation. Commissioner Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you. And so I understand we'll need to give pretty specific direction to, we'll need to have enough discussion, incorporate the community's input into, our information and context, and then if we do decide to move forward with a surtax, we'll need to come to some place where we can provide pretty specific instruction to our county attorney's office, by a board vote. This is not something like occasionally we do in workshops with the Planning Commission where we kind of arrive at consensus by head nodding of, what they should bring back to us next time. This is going to need, in order not to spin the wheels of the attorneys and have them wasting time and then have to go back to the drawing board, we'll need to finally come to an actual vote. And that should not be taken at a workshop where the community wouldn't, doesn't expect us to take action. So I don't know if we'd need a second workshop. Maybe we can decide that at the end of the first workshop, but we will need to, then take a vote. And I think, ideally for me, I'd like to see that vote taken at a regular board meeting. Might be easier for people to expect it's coming, the press to cover it, and to be able to participate in public comment, especially now that we have public comment allowed virtually as well as in person. So I think these are issues that we've been discussing and considering since 2014 when the initial public referendum was brought forward and put on the ballot. So I'm hoping we can have one workshop after all the town hall meetings, which we can attend and understand what's going on there, and then maybe take a good firm discussion and vote at our BOCC meeting, which could be like March 23rd, and give time. I'll ask our county attorneys if that would make sense time-wise.
Yes, thank you. Oops, can you hear me? Yeah, thank you for that question. When you really scrub the calendars and the dates that we know are clear for all of you, what you end up with is you have the public meetings go past the March 2nd board meeting. So really, that really only leaves you with the March 23rd meeting, unless you were to set a special meeting. The reason it's important that we receive the direction no later than March 23rd is because that only will give us 7 days to draft, which we can do it, that's not a problem. But to make the agenda deadline for the April 6th meeting, we would have to do the drafting, put it on the agenda for the April 6th meeting for the board to consider if this is the way that this plays out. We don't know that yet, but if the board does give that direction on April 6th, you would in essence be approving the draft or making changes so that it can be advertised for the final public hearing at the second meeting in April. As long as we make that second meeting in April, we are compliant with being able to meet all the deadlines by giving notice to APAGA and all the other things that are necessary for this. If at all possible, the March 23rd is really a date by which we would need that clear direction so that we can draft what you, as the policymakers, would like, if that's the way we go.
Thank you, Ms. Becca, and I appreciate that clarification because that is what I was most concerned about, given the calendaring, that meeting-free week when we have those workshops, and then the results of their town hall meetings. Commissioner Myers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. Beck, for that great explanation. I do agree with the March 23rd after the 4 meetings, district meetings. This would allow staff to come back and share the comments that we receive from the public, okay, what they would like in transportation. And I do agree that it needs to be in a public setting, not in a workshop, so that morning that the community can come out, share their public comments during the public comment time, and then we as a board make a decision and give staff the directions to go forward because we have received all of the public comments back to us.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. Thank you. Commissioner Hagan, you're recognized.
I just have a quick question.
Madam Chair, before Commissioner Hagan starts, a point of order, it just dawned on me that Commissioner Smith should probably be chairing right now, since you have an item on the floor.
Oh, that's a really good point. Thank you for pointing that out. Commissioner Smith, you have the gavel.
I'll take it from here.
Commissioner Hagan was in the queue.
Commissioner Hagan, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just have a quick question. I guess this is probably for Christine. Do we anticipate resolution of the current court case by March 23rd?
I have no way of answering that. We did have a hearing last week that got continued. It's not been rescheduled yet. It's possible, but one thing that I'll just remind the board, I think Mr. Zimmett stated this, but the refund process that's being looked at is a supplemental way to help for those who might want to avail themselves if the court were to approve the process. But there's always going to be a 4-year statute of limitations for people that they have a claim for, and we do have some other things pending. So it is possible, but I can't guarantee it.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
As to the schedule before, I'd also like to just reiterate for me, I think a single workshop might be good, and I also like the attorney's direction, but I think we heard a lot of that prior as you went through the item, Commissioner Smith. So if we had, I would only schedule a second workshop if we needed it, but as you stated, there's no opportunity for public comment, and certainly we shouldn't be taking a vote at that. So I would imagine that workshop would be to kind of elucidate the points with regards to, charter, ordinance, how we would proceed with this and what the terms of it might be for you to draft. And so that would be the discussion at the workshop. Then we would follow up. I'm just kind of confirming how this would go. So at the March 23rd, during a board meeting, we would affirm it with more specific direction. And April 6th, take up the ordinance. Is that am I clear on that?
I think so. The issue with workshops is that you can't take action unless you allow public comment. So it kind of turns them into a meeting if you were to do that. So, but you could have a workshop where you simply are, as a board, either hearing reports or discussing the matter without taking votes. And then after that, you would then come back on the 23rd. We'd have to set sufficient time and probably help with some things that we need to know and get at that final input. But really, the 23rd would be the latest time based on the calendar as it exists now to give us any direction that's needed. And then you're right, Commissioner Kemp, based on that direction, we would draft, and then we always have to bring the draft back to the board to make sure we have captured your will appropriately. And then if you approve it on the 6th, then that's what goes for advertising, and the public hearing is then set. So did that answer your question, Commissioner? Yes. Thank you.
So I know you went through that before, kind of, but I just wanted to affirm it because I think that sounds like a good procedure, and I wouldn't want to start the process. I know that's been clarified also until after we had our 4 public hearings begin and take up the workshop. So it sounds like there's a lot of agreement about that as a process moving forward, but I'll say that I see that as being a good process.
Commissioner Overman.
Ms. Beck, actually.
If I could just make one more comment, just to make sure we're not overlooking this, but to the extent there are any more public meetings to be set, I think this is a statement of the obvious, but they should be before the 23rd of March, so that you can have the benefit of those before you give direction.
Thank you. Commissioner Overman.
Thank you. And part of the reason why I was looking at the workshop option is that our town halls, and actually Commissioner Myers and I think both brought up this concern, our town hall meetings that are scheduled are largely being considered the county's town hall meetings. And so it's the county's issues that are being discussed there rather than the whole county's and the parties that we have to negotiate with. We have to negotiate with our cities. We have to negotiate with our TPO. And so I had previously asked that each of our board members be briefed on what was to be presented to the at the town halls. So I expect that will happen before our first town hall on February 9th. But I also noticed in your motion, Commissioner Myers, that you had indicated that there would be a subsequent public outreach meeting beyond the town halls that would include the other parties. And so I want to get some clarification here. When we go out to this outreach, so that when we get to a workshop to discuss, and that tentative date at the moment for available workshops when I looked at the calendar would be March 10th. If we were to able to do another meeting that included the other parties involved in our overall, the Hillsborough County's overall transportation plans, needs, and case for how our surtax might be organized, I think needs to occur. Or it needs to occur at the town halls. So this particular conversation item, I am looking to, in fact, recommend at least the workshop for March 10th. Hold the March 30th date in the event for some reason we have to have another workshop or a special meeting to make sure that date is preserved. And then to make sure that the county attorney's office has enough information at the workshop to at least begin putting.
The only thing I'm a little confused about is the March 30th date, because that would be having a workshop after the board has given direction. That's why I was thinking that really if you wanted to have two, they should be before the 23rd.
I agree. Unfortunately, when we looked at the calendar, I don't see that possible. That's my concern.
Possibly a land use meeting or special, I don't know. There might be something creative along those lines.
Okay. Ms. Wise?
I hear what you're saying, and that it is very difficult. And just to give everybody real quickly, and Chair, you mentioned the February 9th date. That is February 9th, the Town Hall meeting for District 1, February 28th, which is a Monday for District 2, March 1st for District 3, and March 3rd for District 4. So there's one next week, and then the others are in a group toward the end of the month, beginning of March. And what is occurring is that fourth meeting for District 4 is one day after your board meeting on the 2nd.
Right.
So that's what's causing some of this issue. I think for staff's clarity, we need to know if we're having additional meetings beyond that and when those need to be and who they need to include, because as you're all here, scheduling is at a premium.
Commissioner Overman, are you?
I'll hear further comment.
Commissioner Cohen, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. And I don't want to make this more complicated than it needs to be, but I'd like to go back to Commissioner Myers' original motion as corrected here, because to my mind, there's no question that we have committed to holding at least an, perhaps additional meeting beyond the 4 that we already set. And so, you know, I know that part of the reason that we talked about doing that was to include other stakeholders, but one of the reasons I thought it was important to do it is because the county is so big, and with only one meeting per district, you know, there was a lot of discussion about how not compact District 1 is. You know, people in South County, people in Town and Country and West Chase have a role to play in this as well. And I think that if you start working backward from the March 23rd date, I think it would probably be better to have the workshop later rather than earlier, not later after the 23rd, but as close to the 23rd as possible. So maybe we could squeeze in another meeting or two in between in order to have as much information as possible by the time we have that workshop. My understanding is the last of the meetings is now scheduled at March 3rd. I think that we need to see if there's any way we can use that time in between to get maybe another one or two on the calendar. I think that's in keeping with what was part of the original motion. And honestly, I think we should be able to do this in one workshop and one meeting. I think we have all talked through this a lot, and I think that having a workshop before the meeting-free period would close out any opportunity at all to have any additional meetings. So that's just some comments.
Thank you. Commissioner White, you recognize.
Thank you. I just want to say for the record that I agree with Commissioner Cohen. With respect to negotiations with the cities, I'm not sure what there is to negotiate with the cities, because each of the 3 cities in our county will receive a proportionate share of those revenues, and it's up to the city officials in those 3 respective cities to determine what their constituents want in terms of how the dollars are appropriated. So I'm just not sure that's a factor, but I agree with Commissioner Cohen. I think it's important to bring this in for a landing. I think that one workshop would be appropriate, and I would just like to state for the record today. You know, I suppose I always reserve the right to change my mind based upon what I hear in town halls and in public hearings and things like that. But as of right now, even though state law allows it, I don't think this belongs in our county charter. Our county charter is a broad governing document that speaks to the structure and function of our government, much like a constitution. And when you think about our transportation needs 30 years ago versus today, and what they might be 30 years from now, I think it makes more sense to have this embedded in an ordinance if we are going to talk about a spending plan, so that it can be tweaked and adjusted with simple public hearings along the way with adequate public input.
Thank you. And Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Okay, so I'll clarify my motion. I'd like to make a motion to this effect, that we direct staff to schedule at least one workshop on March 10th, and hold the March 30 date available for a follow-up, either special meeting if necessary, but to make sure that we have the first workshop prior to the meeting-free period, with the anticipation that we will be able to provide direction to the county attorney by March 23rd.
Thank you. We've got a motion by Commissioner Overman. And not hearing a second, the motion dies for lack of a second. And let me just say that
we have White.
I see that. I can see that.
Okay, you can see him? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So, and let me just say that I have qualms about the 30th. I think we're going to need to and be able to take a vote at our regular meeting at the 23rd. I certainly hope so. And so that's what why I was hesitant to support that motion in any way. But as far as Commissioner Cohen's idea of holding our own workshop as close as possible to the 23rd, the trouble is we've got that meeting-free week of the 14th through the 18th. And so I think we are going to have that discussion. And given that, you and I, Commissioner Cohen, are at Tampa Bay Water on the 21st, I don't know, I guess it's theoretically possible to have a workshop either that Monday afternoon or evening, of the 21st or 22nd before our regular meeting. That gets kind of close, though, if we're discussing and we're not quite agreed to be able to, ruminate on whatever we're discussing and then talk with staff and come in for a landing on the 23rd. So where that additional public meeting would be after the 3rd, that could be sometime in those next 2 weeks, but I guess to your point, it would be better to have it between the 3rd and the 10th, or at least one, so we have the benefit of that public input there. So, me personally, I'm looking for our workshop on the 10th with the additional public meeting. We're talking about it after the 4 town hall meetings to be between March 3rd and the 10th, one, if not 2. So then we could avail ourselves with that on a workshop on the 10th, and then come in at our board meeting, hopefully for a vote, because I'm hearing that the 23rd is the absolute drop dead. We better be giving our county attorneys direction by then. So that's where I'm at. Commissioner Cohen, you recognize.
So perhaps what we can do is rather than give the staff specific dates, maybe we could give the staff this direction. Maybe we could motion to simply ask the staff to schedule one additional public meeting and then a workshop prior to our March 23rd regular board meeting, with the intention of having on the March 23rd regular agenda a slot for us to discuss and vote on instructions to the county attorney for drafting.
So is that a motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Cohen, second by Commissioner Overman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. The next item on the agenda.
Okay, here is Commissioner White's item F4. This is to direct county staff to research the registry for special needs, and also Commissioner White, Chief Jones is available if you so need.
Am I recognized?
Yes, I'm sorry. You recognize Commissioner White?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is another motion that I'm going to tweak a little bit in speaking with staff. I do believe we're doing a good job in servicing the special needs community on the first responder front, but I'm also a firm believer that we can always do better. I would like to see some type of a program that allows those in the special needs community to connect with our first responders, to explain, needs that might be out there, or some special way that first responders might need to work with a particular family or individual. Maybe that doesn't have to be in similar form to the City of Tampa's volunteer registry, but I'd certainly like to, consider something that increases conduits or the ability for those folks to reach out to our first responders. Mr. Staley that spoke during public comment is a professional colleague of mine. He's been talking to me for quite some time about this, and he is the parent of a special needs child. And he specifically brought the city of Tampa's registry to the forefront. But just to give staff some leeway and to give them the ability to talk to the board about what's already being done in terms of training in servicing the special needs community, perhaps other policies or procedures that are already in place, and to explain to the board maybe where we can do a better job and where we might have some additional procedures in place. I'm going to make a motion to direct county staff to bring to the board a report on first responder service to the special needs community.
Second. Sorry, I had to second that order. And the reason I did, because I was actually in the queue to speak, but it was largely just to make sure two things. One, I wanted to second it, but two, I wanted to thank you for bringing this. I do live in the city of Tampa. I have a family on the city of Tampa's, a family member that's on the special needs registry that the city has put together. And I can't tell you how many times that information has been utilized by the people that serve our citizens, and how incredibly important it is. Given also that we have a significant veterans community of individuals that could possibly have experienced various different challenges, having a good understanding of who lives in our community and who has special needs allows us to do a better job of serving those citizens and their families. So I heartily will support this. Thank you very much for bringing it forward.
And Madam Chair, I've re-entered the queue.
Yeah,
So I just want to say to Ms. Wise, I've structured the motion in such a way as to give staff some flexibility in bringing recommendations to the board, but I don't want to see a registry dead on arrival. You know, maybe some sort of a registry does come to the forefront in that report, but to be fair to staff, I've worded it in such a way as to give them some flexibility on what they bring back.
Seeing no further comments? I see any of the further comments? Okay. With that, please record your vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Wise.
Thank you. The final item are future discussion items.
Commissioner White, you're in the queue? Or?
Oh, I haven't been removed.
Okay, great. And Commissioner Hagan, do you have a future item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. It's been nearly 2 years when I brought up the discussion of staff reviewing the existence of lost burial sites on county-owned property, and I'd just like to ask staff to come back with an update within, I'd say within 30 days on where we are with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to make an announcement that former County Commissioner Les Miller signing ceremony has been scheduled for Tuesday, February the 15th at 2 p.m. at the Les Miller All People Life Center, and the public is invited. So just wanted to share that with us.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Not seeing any others, I do have an item that I'd like to bring forward. Hillsborough County turned 188 years old on January 25th. And Hillsborough County has become such an amazing place to live, work, and play due to the close of 200 years of citizen service. We clearly have a lot to be proud of, and I would like to formally invite my colleagues, staff, and stakeholders listening here in today to Hillsborough Day in the state capitol in Tallahassee on February 22nd. This is a day where Hillsborough goes to our state capitol and celebrates all the wonderful things we're doing here and advocates on behalf of the citizens. So I'd like to make sure that you are aware of the events that occur. There's a great luncheon that celebrates our amazing Tampa-based Cuban sandwich at lunchtime, and then there's a reception afterwards. But it does give us an opportunity to celebrate and highlight the many assets of Hillsborough County. So I hope each of you have an opportunity to attend. And I've sent out, I believe I've already sent out the formal invite, but I just want to make sure that you're aware that that is a great opportunity for us as leaders in this community to celebrate Hillsborough County. Thank you. Keep trying to keep it on to keep turning it off. With that, seeing no other items, I call the meeting. Commissioner Myers? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you still? I didn't know whether I dropped you out of the queue. I apologize. Oh. Excellent. I've got my red jacket ready. Excellent. And with that, seeing no other comments or concerns or future items, I'll call the meeting adjourned.